He is fresh off paying for his first round of undergraduate degrees. So I give you your director, my director, our director, Patrick Eakes.
Thank you so much, Chris. And yes, done with one undergraduate, and here comes vet school. Twice the fun, twice the price. Going to be great. So I am coming to you today from President Stephanie Yurchik's office. Real treat to be here today. And when you're up here on the 18th floor at headquarters, you just never know who you're going to run into. I mean, look who I found here.
Hey guys. Hey guys from the mothership.
We have the originator of the ZoomFormation call, David Stovall, past director, past treasurer. So, and we also have someone over here to my left who you will see on screen in just a bit. He'll be introduced at that time. Thank you, Cookie. Thank you, Chris Justice. Thank you, Sean Patty, for all you do to organize and to produce these calls. I appreciate very much that you all always make us such a fun time. And I love the Mother's Day video. Mother's Day is celebrated in the U.S. and it's celebrated in most of the countries in the Caribbean this coming Sunday. So good message there to remember and to thank and to hug our moms if we're able to. It has been a busy several weeks over the 4 weeks since I was last with you, since we had this call. I flew out right after the April ZoomFormation call to come up to headquarters. We had our April board meeting and followed that with the Rotary International Council on Legislation. We'll hear a little bit more about that in a bit. I went down to District 7030 for their conference and their President-elect Learning Seminar. And let me just tell you that everything I had heard about District 7030 and how they do it is true. They close their hospitality suites at 1 a.m. and that's kind of like a soft close. That's when you can start to think about going to bed. And they get after it in the morning with just amazing energy, amazing fellowship, and it was a treat to be with them for sure. So I am back up at headquarters, as I mentioned. We have this week the Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation Finance Committees. They meet jointly and they meet individually during the next 3 days. Really, really good work, solid work that'll be taking place this week. And I'll see many of you this weekend in Richmond, Virginia, USA for the Zone 33 seminar that we'll have. Looking forward to that. I do want to give you just a rundown of some of the highlights from the April board meeting that took place 4 weeks ago. Many of you are heavily invested with your time and your talent, in some cases your treasurer with Habitat for Humanity and also with ShelterBox. And we renewed our partnerships, Rotary International did. There's such good alignment of missions between the two organizations. And so we have renewed with both ShelterBox Trust as well as Habitat for Humanity. We approved a new Rotary Action Group. This is the action group for girls empowerment, and zones 33 and 34 have been right at the front of that effort for the last several years. Particularly Tina Fishlin in Zone 34, Dawn Rochelle in Zone 33, Sean Patty in Zone 34 have all been involved. And I will tell you, I used to serve on the committee that oversaw action groups and fellowships. I've never seen an application put together like the application for this action group. It was really incredible. So very, very glad to see that action group getting off the ground. The Membership Growth Committee, to which I serve as liaison from the board of directors, and our paired trustee, Larry Lunsford, serves as the liaison from the trustees, sent some recommendations to the board, all of which were improved, and I think it's worth you all being aware of those. First off, the Rotary Coordinator henceforth will be known as the Rotary Membership Coordinator. Now, those of you who have been around for a while will remember that that was the title going back about 15 years ago. So we are back to Rotary Membership Coordinator. I can tell you as a former RC, I'll be glad not to have to answer the question, what does a Rotary Coordinator do? The title will align with the biggest part of that job. So that has taken place. Also, much in alignment with the Rotary Foundation, with the way the District Rotary Foundation Committee is structured, the District Membership Committee now what before now has been a recommended 3 subcommittees of member engagement, member attraction, and new club development. Those will now become mandatory subcommittees. And I will tell you, I think you all know this, that when it comes to membership, it is a team sport. It certainly needs to be a team sport. So we are following the lead of the Rotary Foundation. Those will be mandatory subcommittees. And we certainly hope that in each of our 31 districts that we will build out robust teams to address all 3 of those areas. Additionally, the board requested the General Secretary to study the feasibility and to report back at their October 2025 meeting on the possibility of creating a cadre of new club creation advisors, very similar to our technical advisors with the Rotary Foundation. So we've asked the General Secretary to determine, is this feasible? What does this look like? And also to consider a new regional role that would be focused on new club creation. So it's an either or, could be an and, but we've asked the General Secretary to take a look at both of those possibilities. So stay tuned on that. We'll be 6 months out before we're really taking a hard look at that again. Finally, the Membership Growth Committee itself made the recommendation, and it was approved, that part of its charge as a committee to be to work closely with Rotary coordinators for the opportunity of exchange of information, for the committee to learn what's happening with, I should say, Rotary membership coordinators now, and an opportunity to understand what's happening in the field. So I think that that's a great move. The board took a look at the 2 large pilot programs. One is taking place in Zone 8, which is Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific Islands. The other in Rotary in Great Britain and Ireland. So we had reports in on that. I will tell you that it does look like what was a pretty steep plummet of membership in Great Britain and Ireland appears to have leveled off. I think that many of the innovative work they're doing, innovative programs they're doing in membership are showing some green shoots now. We're very happy about that. Finally, I will mention, and I think a more or less open letter has gone out that many of you have seen, that our president nominee, Sang-Koo Yoon, has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. I know many of you have contacted me about that, and he has been open in sharing that news and in asking for your support of his Rotary family. And I know that we all will provide that in the ways that are appropriate for each of us. He has been scheduled to come to visit us at the Zone Summit in Jacksonville in September. We'll see how that goes. We will certainly defer to his health needs first, and Rotary will come second. But I wanted to be sure, if you had not heard that news, that you are aware of that. He's been a good friend to many of us for some time, and we are certainly hoping that that he's getting the kind of medical care that can help him overcome that challenge. I did, as we approached the end of the year, I wanted to recognize several leaders from Zones 33 and 34. You saw David Stovall stick his head in and say hello. He is finishing his 3rd year as chair of the Rotary International Finance Committee. And as someone who has sat in that group for the last year, I can tell you he has done a great job of leading that committee. We know it's important to all of us. The work that the Finance Committee does, it affects all of us in terms of how we staff this building and our other offices, and looking after all of us who pay dues. So I thank David for his incredible leadership, not only as treasurer when he was on the board, but 3 years as the Finance Committee chair. Mary Berg is finishing up as the Learning and Development Committee chair, another important committee that has so many touches in the way we prepare our leaders. Cindy Covington is finishing up, I believe, her 2nd year as the Strategic Planning Committee chair. That of course provides direction for the entire organization, and I know that she's done good work there. I continue to see the reports from her committee. Harish Ramchandani, Membership Growth Committee chair, he has served this year, and that committee has finished its work for the year. But as you heard from my report, it's been a very active committee, really pushing membership ahead, trying to take put more emphasis and provide more infrastructure for us to have success in that area. And then there's one other person, Stephanie Yurchik, of course, who chairs the board of directors and our president. She has 2 months to go. She just flew out to Europe. I think she's gone almost the whole month of May, which is why we were able to use her office today. But certainly want to recognize those 5 leaders from zones 33 and 34 who are all have been in key positions for at least this Rotary year. You've heard about all you probably want to hear from me, but I do want to give you a quick update on our disaster recovery efforts. We have at this point collected $1,425,000 into that fund. Additionally, 7 of our districts have collected $25,000 disaster recovery grants from the Rotary Foundation. And I'm pleased to report that out of the 1.425 million, we have distributed $867,000. So about 2/3 of that money has gone out in 56 grants. Again, these are grants where clubs are identifying projects, they're working hands-on to implement, and the money that we have issued in grants has also been matched by $538,000 worth of grants that have come from clubs, from districts, from other community partners. So that is 56 projects that are taking place across the affected areas from the hurricanes they hit last September and October. So as always, Rotarians are leading the way in bringing their communities back. And I am very thankful to all of the leaders at all levels who are making this work happen to help restore some normalcy to their communities, help them recover. So that is it for me. I appreciate all of you being on the call today. I'm looking forward to the rest of our program, and I'm going to hand it back to our MC.
All right, thanks, Patrick. We are now going to turn it over to our friend Larry Lunsford, Vice Chair of the Rotary Foundation. Larry?
I am pleased to be with you, and pleased to be joining Patrick always, and pleased to be joining him here in the President's office today, as we are all here on Rotary and Rotary Foundation duties. It's great to be with you as always. I want to wish you a happy Cinco de Mayo, and I want to mention that I know every day that goes by how proud you are of your director, Patrick, but I do want to reference the time we've had to be able to work together this year, and I want to particularly reference the work he did in his role as presenting certain of the major topics at the Council on Legislation. He represented the Rotary world extremely well, and I want to acknowledge that at the Council on Legislation recently conducted. Your own David Stovall and I are here this week after the trustees finished their meetings last week. I'm going to give you a brief update. And I'm still here this week and joining David to handle the Joint Finance Committee meetings this week as we move to finalize the Rotary International budget and the Rotary Foundation budget for 25-26. So David and I will be seated next to each other for the next 2.5 days, and we'll be guiding our colleagues on those committees. I will frame my comments with you today in the manner that some of you have heard me respond when I acknowledge what it is that a trustee does. My answer to that is that we primarily do 3 things. We should be the chief fundraising cheerleaders for the Rotary Foundation. We should be developing the right level of programs that you want to use and you want to spend the dollars that local leaders and district leaders have the opportunity to spend. And we should be ensuring the highest levels of stewardship. Chief fundraising cheerleaders, developing the right programs, and administering a proper stewardship environment. So in terms of fundraising, let me just quickly thank all of you for contributing in such a way in these two zones, to the point that as it ladders up through the Rotary world, our giving is up through the end of March in every fund category: annual fund, Polio Plus fund, endowment fund for sure this year with the focus, and also the disaster response fund. And it is nice that the Rotary Foundation can be helpful to your zones in these times of these disasters. It's nice that we've evolved our foundation to a place where disaster response is something that we can be helping you with. We also have a series of associate foundations around the world that are a part of our Rotary Foundation. Certain countries of enough scale and other countries that may have some level of tax benefit for donations, that we took a report last week from our leader of the international offices regarding our associate foundations. Each of them are doing their job. They're doing them well. The most recent of those we started in Italy just a year ago. We certainly have Brazil, India, of course, Australia, Canada, Germany. So we have a series of associate foundations that help us regionally in the work of the Rotary Foundation, and also house funds along with the other elements that they help us with. We also, from a program standpoint, I just mentioned our fundraising. Let me finish the fundraising by making sure you know, I hope the slides go around, at the end of March toward our 2025 by 2025 campaign. There was a little bit of a lesser valuation at the end of March, given the quick volatility that occurred around US-based markets and really world markets. And so our net assets at the end of March was $819.1 million. And our commitments were at $1.092 billion, for a total of $1.911 billion toward our goal of the 2025 by 2025 campaign by June 13. So just $114 million shy of that goal. We too, as a board of trustees, as Patrick mentioned to you, with most of our strategic and working partnerships, both boards approve that we have those partnerships and when we are extending them. And so the Rotary Foundation trustees last week also approved the extension of the Habitat for Humanity and the Shelter Box partnerships. One of the partnerships that we discussed last week is also the partnership that we've held for a fair few number of years with the Institute for Economics and Peace. And that has heightened our peace efforts beyond the great Rotary Peace Centers program that we have. And it has yielded the Positive Peace Activator program, where individual Rotarians can become positive peace activators. And I'm confident there are a few even represented on this call right now that have gone through that Rotary provided training in partnership with IEP and have elevated our Positive Peace Activator program to where it is today. We plan at some level to transition away. We'll still work with, but we plan to transition away from a formal partnership with IEP. And that's not a bad thing, and it's an amenable thing, an agreeable environment, certainly. We want to continue to work with the Institute for Economics and Peace. But we both agree that we think we want to look at making this Positive Peace Activator program an actual program of Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation. We want to heighten that to an even higher level. And so we believe, if you will, that we've obtained and mutually developed that product to a place where it should be considered for a permanent program of Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation. And interestingly, and maybe in conjunction, time will tell, for the last year, March 24 to March 25, we've had a memorandum of understanding with the Carter School at George Mason University, right in the geographies of these two zones. And this is at a level of Rotarian education and helping us develop more peace projects. So it sits in that lane, if I can say it that way, in complementary nature to our Peace Fellows program. I want to be sure to say it in that way. It's the way I presented the item last week to the trustees. We have a strategic partnership liaison team for peace right now, and I'm fortunate to sit on that. And we're currently vetting and evaluating a proposal, a very nice proposal we've gotten from George Mason University. Funding on both sides, elevating possibly this Positive Peace Activator program as part of further Rotary opportunities for education in peace, and, as I just said, providing some funds for peace projects. So we're going to be vetting that program. And so I will go so far as to say there's a little bit of a connection, if you will, to the two things I've just mentioned. Maybe not formally having the partnership with IEP that might well develop into some level of further agreement with the Carter School at George Mason University. Time will tell. I'm excited to continue to keep you updated on that. I'll move toward concluding my remarks by saying that the trustees did select the fifth program of scale recipient. The recipient will be confidential and it'll be announced in Calgary. A very exciting project, and one that the trustees are happy to invest in. So that selection has been made, and you'll hear in Calgary. Finally, regarding our polio efforts, I want to really get serious with you here for a second. The open letter from Stephanie and from Mark Maloney and from General Secretary and CEO John Huco that went out to leaders and clubs in the last couple of weeks was meant to address our moment in time here, and meant to say that we will continue to march forward as Rotary on all of our goals and projects, including polio eradication, even in the face of some of the recent news regarding USAID, WHO, other partners. A couple of weeks ago, we had joint executive committee meetings, both RI and TRF, because we were hearing some possibilities, some rumblings out of Washington, D.C. that might have further impact on nonprofits in general, and certainly on Rotary. My point in raising that in that way is to say that typically we would be spending the final third $50 million tranche of Polio Plus grants in June. But based on what we were hearing, I want you to know that the trustees took a decision last week in faith with our partners to go ahead and advance that money so that there is nothing that keeps that funding from flowing. And that was a big decision. And I prefaced it by saying I wanted to be serious with you. I think it was an outstanding effort of governance on all of your parts to make sure that those polio funds are in a place where they can be deployed at the right place. So it'll be fun this week to push the numbers around with David, and we will set the budgets for next year. All of you know how much I enjoy working with each of you, how much I appreciate each of your efforts. It's a pleasure to work with you. I'm disappointed that at June 30, I won't be in a formal role of working with you as a paired trustee, but we've really made some differences and created some positive movement for the Rotary movement in zones 33 and 34. I will be in Richmond, Virginia this Friday to join you then. We'll look forward to seeing you in Calgary as well. Appreciate all you do. And back to Chris, reporting from the president's office on the 18th floor with Patrick Eakes.
Thanks, Larry. I'm going to actually toss it right back to Director Eakes real quick. So, Patrick.
All right, are you muted? Okay, great. We're trying to be sure we have our mutes and our speakers working right so we don't create feedback since we're about 5 feet apart. I want to take this opportunity to thank Larry, both in this call and as my friend sitting 5 feet away. I met Larry, as best I can recall, in January of 2014 when I was an incoming governor. I believe you were a director at the time.
I was.
Was a director at the time, and I remember specifically learning about at that time what was the new branding, logo, all those types of things for Rotary. Larry and I have had a friendship ever since that has only gotten stronger. I had many opportunities to work together, many opportunities to learn from him. He has been a tremendous friend to all of the districts in both of our zones. And we have benefited not only from his wisdom and his experience, but from his friendship and his encouragement. I just on a personal level cannot imagine that the 2 years I've been fortunate enough to serve as a director, or this first year as a director, that it coincided with Larry's term as the vice chair of our trustees. I would stand up and give applause now, but then you would be looking at my belt buckle, and that wouldn't make any sense. But I know that we all feel great love and respect and appreciation for Larry. So wanted to express that before we moved ahead in the program. Thank you, my friend. Chris,
All
back
right.
to you, sir.
Gotcha. Thanks so much, Patrick. And thank you, Larry. Awesome presentations from you both. All right, so I am going to turn it over to my colleague on the Council on Legislation to talk a little bit about his experience. Charlie, off to you.
Great. Thank you, Chris. It's my pleasure to give you all an overview of the Council on Legislation. Each district is allowed to appoint a past district governor to represent them. We had 511 council representatives recognized, with about 490 in attendance in Chicago. We met Sunday through Wednesday to review 86 enactments, 30 of which were approved. It's a 3-year commitment. In 2023, 2024, and 2025, the councils on resolutions met via internet. And then, of course, this year, 2025, we had the Council on Legislation. Representatives make up the body of Rotarians authorized by the RI Constitution and bylaws to vote on resolutions at the Council on Resolutions and to amend the constitutional documents at the Council on Legislation. Rotary's Council on Resolutions, COR, will convene each year to vote on resolutions and urgent enactments. Resolutions may be submitted by clubs, districts, the RI board, and the General Council or Conference of RIBI. Urgent enactments may be submitted to the RI board and are limited to situations that have occurred since the most recent COL. The COR has the authority to adopt resolutions, which are then considered by the RI board or the TRF trustees. Adopted urgent enactments would amend the constitutional documents. Resolutions and urgent enactments are due to Rotary by June 30 each year in order to be considered by the Council on Resolutions held during the following Rotary year. The Council on Legislation is an in-person meeting where representatives gather every 3 years to debate and vote on legislation proposed by clubs, districts, the RI board, the General Council or Conference of RIBI, and the Council. There are 2 types of legislation: enactments and position statements. Enactments are to change Rotary's constitutional documents, the RI Constitution, RI bylaws, and the standard Rotary Club Constitution, whereas position statements seek to state a position of Rotary International and are proposed only to the RI board. A lot of work and effort goes into serving as a COL delegate. First of all, we need to read all the materials provided by RI, including the constitutional documents. We should prepare if we wish to speak to any of the items. We need to attend and complete the mandatory trainings. Obviously, we need to be open-minded and willing to accept different worldviews and think globally. Most importantly, think about how an item affects all of Rotary, not just our district, and do not decide how to vote until you hear all the arguments and make your own decisions. Don't follow the instructions of others. In the interest of time, I'd like to turn it back over to Chris Justice, who will talk about our enactments and invite you all to join us in the breakout room afterwards for further questions. Go ahead, Chris, take it away.
All right, thanks so much, Charlie. It feels really weird spotlighting myself, but here we are. All right, so thanks so much for talking about your experience a little bit. What I want to do is go over just a couple of basics on the enactments themselves. So this is council on legislation by the numbers. So we had 86 enactments that were considered. I counted 30 approved. Charlie and I discussed this before the meeting. I think technically it actually was 31. We approved one piece prior to the council actually getting rolling. 11, interestingly, were withdrawn. Enactments can be withdrawn for various reasons. And, you know, the majority of the time, an enactment would have been withdrawn because one was approved prior to an enactment being heard that really would have, you know, kind of superseded a following enactment. So several of them got taken off the docket, which was good. 8 enactments sought to amend the RI Constitution. That actually requires 2/3 of vote to pass rather than the simple majority. And FYI on that, only one of those actually passed. All right, so I took the liberty of going through the enactments just to kind of give you guys a flavor for the ones that I thought would be most impactful to districts in our zone. Charlie and I are going to host one of the breakouts when we open the breakout rooms here shortly. So I am happy, and I'm sure Charlie is as well, to discuss the enactments I'm going to go over now or any of the other ones that were on the docket. And talk about, you know, what we thought on those enactments. I'm happy to share how I voted if anybody cares. You know, so if you're interested in hearing about that, join our breakout. All right, so this was a biggie. 25-07 lowered the number needed to charter a new club to 15. As I'm sure all of you know, that was 20 before, and that was lowered to 15. 25-28. Provided the RI board with authority to instruct a club to terminate a member. This is one that I really supported in concept because, you know, a lot of times clubs get into issues with members that need to be dealt with for whatever reason. And, you know, oftentimes it's really hard for a club to navigate that. And up until this last council on legislation, they were the only ones that had authority, you know, to really deal with member terminations. So, you know, that has caused a lot of consternation and conflict. You know, what's absent in the enactment is that we're not sure what that framework's going to look like. So we will have to stay tuned as this is something that will go into effect on July 1. So we'll get a few more details on that from the board. Also, sort of in that same vein, 25-29 provided a framework where RI could immediately suspend an officer in cases of alleged wrongdoing. There was, you know, sort of a gap in the process where, you know, technically an RI officer could continue on even in an egregious case while the due process played out. And 25-29 provides for an interim suspension in cases where that is warranted. So I definitely thought that was something positive. All right, so moving on. I think I'm going to move on. Yeah, and Robert, I see I see your comment, man. All right, so dues increase. We knew this was coming. There were several enactments on the docket that covered dues increases. Thankfully, you know, the first round is what got approved. If you read the enactment, it's actually broken down into 6-month increments, but I went ahead and converted it to annual because that's probably what you guys are going to be most interested in. And you see incremental dues increases over the next 4 years. So this was something that our director, Patrick Eakes, actually spoke on behalf of the board on the day we got to council on legislation. And he made gave us the 5-year forecast, which really made the case very strongly as to why we needed measured increases over the next 4 years. And he did an awesome job and really, you know, represented the board in our combined zones very, very well. I'll combine 25-56 and 57. to talk about the council legislation cycle. This is an amazing change. Not to bore you with all the details, but I'm actually into year two rather of being elected to the council on legislation. And the problem that creates is that under the old schedule, new enactments were due almost as soon as we took office. So I think it was just a mere 6 months after we took office, you had to have any enactments turned in. And I think the statistic was over 70% of the delegates are first-time council on legislation attendees. So, we don't know what we're doing. Certainly not within the 6 months. I mean, we have to, go through all the learning modules and, digest all the emails. This actually, the change of the cycle actually starts a delegate's term the July 1st, immediately following the council on legislation. So the new delegates will be starting moving forward immediately following. Now, this next cycle is going to be a little bit different because the process changed. This enactment doesn't go into effect until July 1st, and we're still in year two of our term, about to start year three. So Patrick will get back to us on what the board decides, because the board was given authority to come up with an interim plan for this next cycle. And the other thing that it did, which was awesome, it extends the amount of time to propose new enactments. And that was, brought up and passed because technology has allowed us to do a lot more things in terms of exchange of information. So the calendar is extended on that end and moved up on the delegate selection end. So two very good changes, in my belief. This was a biggie. 25-72 district conferences are now optional. You guys read that right. They are now optional. So, you can do with that what you want. I'm not going to be shy about telling you, I'm advising our district has it in our MOP that it is not optional. And I would certainly advise my district to keep that in our MOP. But from an RI perspective, it will now read as optional instead of mandatory. And lastly, I think everybody knew this was coming. PETS and DLT are now officially referred to as President-elect Learning Seminar and Club Leadership Learning Seminar. Although I can't see him, I can imagine, several of my friends on the call are doing thumbs down now. But we were assured when this enactment was presented that PETS alliances specifically are free to brand their event how they see fit. And I think the hope is that over time, as new materials are developed, that the PETS alliances will adopt the learning seminar language. So that's all I have for right this second. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this portion. And if you want to learn more, then feel free to join our breakout. And at this time, I am going to kick it over to our friend George Robertson Burnett, who is going to talk to us about the upcoming Zone Summit. So if I can find you, George, I'm going to spotlight you. But I'm going to kick it off to you.
Thank you so much, and much appreciated, Chris. And my thanks to the ZoomFormation team for this opportunity to promote this year's forum at the Jacksonville Summit. It's such a pleasure to be involved in the organization of this, our special event for all PDGs in zones 33 and 34. Now, if you were in Pittsburgh last year, you know that the PDG Forum took on a new format, as we not only utilize what can be best described as a chat show format, we also added a much more laid-back feel to the event by including a social interlude and having a bar available for those wishing to have a beer, a cocktail, or two fingers of your favorite tipple during the event. And guess what? It was a great success. And as always, it provided a wonderful opportunity for rekindling friendships with our classmates and fellow PDGs, as well as giving us a great insight into thoughts and passions of some of our esteemed Rotary leaders. So you'll not be surprised to hear that we are basing this year's event on that success and providing an enhanced experience as we present the 2025 PDG Fellowship Forum. As always, You won't want to miss the opportunity to hear from some wonderful Rotary heavyweights, and of course, not only hear, but question and socialize with them also. Just to whet your appetites, we have current RI President Stephanie with us, who will, by that time of the event, be able to reflect on her year of presidential service. We will also have the Deputy General Secretary of Rotary, Michelle Berg, who can give us a great insight into the inner workings of the RI head office and what is Rotary relevant and pertinent currently. Plus, we may have a mystery guest, so-called, because I haven't got a clue who that might be. But given that we have a few months out, we're a few months out, who knows who we might have available on the day. And in demonstration of the importance of continuity, we will also have our past, current, and future directors in special conversation. Yes, Jeremy, Patrick, and Marshall will take center stage to give us their perspective on our dual zones journey to Rotary innovation and excellence. So quite a lineup. And don't forget the important social aspect to the gathering, where we will relax in convivial conversation with our guests and attendees. And if all that wasn't enough, we will get the first round of drinks for all attendees. Yes, the first drink is on us. I would say it's on me, but you would know that wouldn't be true. You know, look out for a voucher in your welcome pack. As a PDG, you remain a valuable asset to this organization, and attendance at the Zone Summit is one of the ways that we can stay relevant, up to date, and involved. And it's also a heck of a lot of fun. The PDG Fellowship Forum is just one of the many attractions at Summit. Future ZoomFormation webinars will highlight many of the great offerings that we can expect at this year's event. For PDGs going to the Summit, we know this is not an obligation, it's a choice. But because we value the central tenets of Rotary membership, continuing fellowship, connections, and doing good, these are available in abundance at the summit, so attendance is a great choice. So please register and make your plans to be there in September the 11th. We very much look forward to welcome you to Jacksonville and to our PDG Fellowship Forum. I will be in one of the breakout rooms for anybody that's got any questions. And now I'm pleased to hand control back to my good friend, Chris Justice. Over to you, Chris.
All right. Thanks so much, George. All right. So we've got some upcoming events that we're going to go over as always, and then we're going to open the breakout rooms. So on May 7th, our public image folks are putting on AI Unleashed. This is a follow-up to the hugely popular AI webinar that was done a bit ago. And this is in the Ask Me Anything format. And then after that, we've got our next MAP webinar. That's coming up May 12th. That's a Monday, 5:30 p.m. And that is going to talk about preparing for greater growth and impact, creating a culture of planning. All right, and then we have our Foundation Matters webinar. That's coming up Thursday, May 15th, 2025 at 6 p.m. And of course, as we all know, magic all around June 21st through 25. You guys, or everybody will be meeting in Calgary, Canada. All right, and as George talked about, Currents of Creativity, that's going to be our Zone Summit, September 10th through 14th. And as always, you want to stay connected on all of our social channels. You have a myriad of choices all outlined right there. All right, we're going to go ahead and open our breakout rooms. Our breakout rooms, the way they're structured, we have 3 today. As soon as I click the button and open all rooms, you can choose. You should see a dialog that pops up in the middle of your screen asking you to join one of the 3 rooms. Feel free to do so, and you can bounce around from room to room if you like. If you don't see the pop-up, you should see a little icon on the bottom that says breakout rooms. You can click that to choose your room once I open them. And if that doesn't work, you can click the 3 little dots that say more, and you should see the choice of breakout rooms. And if all else fails, our friend Sean Patty will be in the lobby to put you in a breakout room if you need help. You will not be returning back to the main session, so you can leave after you finish up with your breakout. All right, we're going to open those up, and thank you guys for attending.